والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد قال خلق الخلق بعلمه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created his creation by his ilm. وَقَدَّرَ لَهُمْ أَقْدَارًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did fix their taqdeer. وَضَرَبَ لَهُمْ آجَالًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them certain time. لَمْ يَخْفَ عَلَيْهِ شَيْءٌ مِّنْ أَفْعَالِهِ. Nothing is hidden unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the actions of their creation. قَبْلَ أَنْ خَلَقَهُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew everything before they were created. وَعَلِمَ مَا هُمْ عَامِلُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew what amal they are going to perform. قَبْلَ أَنْ يَخْلُقَهُمْ. And He had that knowledge before they were created. وَأَمَرَهُمْ بِطَاعَتِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed them for the obedience. وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنْ مَعْصِيَتِهِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade them from the disobedient. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ يَجْرِي بِقُدْرَتِهِ وَمَشِيئَتِهِ. And everything continues under the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and under the mashi'at of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَشِيئَتُهُ تَنْفَذْ. And His mashi'at becomes implemented. وَلَا مَشِيئَةَ لِلْعِبَادِ إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ لَهُمْ. And no plans of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes into being except whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills and give permission. فَمَا شَاءَ لَهُمْ كَانَ. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills happen. وَمَا لَمْ يَشَاء لَمْ يَكُنْ. And whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't allow, doesn't will, doesn't make intention, it does not happen. يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاء وَيَعَصِّمُ وَيُعَافِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ فَضْلًا. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, He gives hidayat. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to protect, He protects. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives forgiveness and pardoning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. And whatever pardoning and protection and hidayat is given, it is given by the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُذِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاء. And whoever He wishes to be deviated, to be misguided, he becomes misguided. وَيَخْذُرْ. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to betray, he becomes betrayed. وَيَبْتَلِي. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plans and wishes to be tasted, he becomes tasted. And all that happen, adlan, that happens because of the full of justice system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we spoke before also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has either fadl or either Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has adl. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His justice or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never does zulam. Whether it comes to our understanding or not, but that must become our aqidah, our iman, our firm conviction. Things of this world sometimes we will not understand. As pieces of jigsaws, when they are broken apart, it will not give us very beautiful picture and very beautiful murad. But when it will come together, that is when we will understand, oh, this was the beautiful picture of Holy Kaaba, or Masjid-e-Nabawi, or Masjid-e-Aqsa. Exactly on the same way, when all the pieces of Allah's plan will come to us, that is when we will understand, oh, I used to think what I used to think about it. But it was more than justice, or it was more than mercy, or it was more than Allah's fadl. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us that firm conviction. Now we are entering into the testing and trying period. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us such iman that whether something comes to our understanding or not, but we have two sections. Either adl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or either fazl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ مُتَعَالٍ عَنِ الْأَغْدَادِ وَالْأَنْدَادِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is independent from having partners and from having somebody like Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no shuraka. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no partners. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need anybody. He is independent. Allahu Samad. Allahu Samad means everybody beside Allah needs Allah. And everybody beside Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need them. As-Samad means everybody needs Him And as-samad means he does not need nobody. So وَهُوَ مُتَعَالٍ عَنِ الْأَغْدَادِ وَالْأَنْدَادِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is above and he is higher than having partners and shuraka. لَا رَادَّ لِقَضَائِهِ. When his qaza and when his predestiny comes into being, then no one can return it. No one can return it. وَلَا مُعَقِّبَ لِحُكْمِهِ. You know, when it comes to taqdeer, when it comes to predestiny, it is being said that there are three types of qada. One, qada'ul mu'allaq and qada'ul mubram. And one qada which has come down. So there are three types of taqdeer. One taqdeer which is already came down, and one taqdeer which is hanging, whether it will come or whether it will not come. And one qada, it is qada-e-mubram, that it is very firm. So when it comes to qada which has come down, now you cannot change it. Someone faced the qada that today he is going to meet his death, and he met. So person died, now you cannot change it. That is qada, that qada which has come down. Qada mu'allaq, that is hanging in between. And for that, ulama said that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ad-du'a yaruddul qada. Dua can change your taqdeer. So that taqdeer which is hanging, which has not come down, if you keep on making dua, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change it. And that third type of taqdeer, qada-e-mubram, that it is firm. Nothing can change it. Nothing can change it. But some of the ulama, they have this opinion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتْ وَعِنْدَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to delete, Allah deletes it. And whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to keep it, Allah keeps it. وَعِنْدَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ. And Ummul Kitab of the taqdeer, it is only by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sometime if your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so thick and so deep and so vast and so strong, some ulama, they have this opinion that majority of the ulama said qada-e-mubram can never be changed. But some ulama, they said no, if your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is such, then you say to Allah, يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتْ وَعِنْدَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ. يَا مَنْ عِنْدَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ. Oh, that Almighty who's got Ummul Kitab, this taqdeer, whether it is into the mubram, please change it. Some ulama said that happens because of your istijabat of dua, because of your maqam to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connect us to Quran and Sunnah. Whatever happens, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us firm aqidah. Inshallah, from today after Isha, we'll try to have this sabak. And if we will not be allowed from Thursday, then maybe inshallah we'll try to have that's online only, inshallah. And if we have no congregation who doesn't need English, then maybe we'll try in Urdu. But if need will come that from home or from the receiver system or from any other means, if people they have that demand that we should continue in English too, I don't mind, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us alive and that drown into Quran and Sunnah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. يا أول الأولين يا آخر الآخرين يا راحم المساكين يا ذا القوة المتين يا ذا المن فلا يمن عليك يا ذا الطول يا ذا الجلال والإكرام لا إله إلا أنت زهر اللاجئين وجار المستجيرين ومأمن الخائفين يا مأمن الخائفين يا مأمن الخائفين إن كنت كتبتنا عندك في أم الكتاب أشقياء فامح عنا اسم الشقاء وإن كنت كتبتنا عندك في أم الكتاب مقطرا علينا أرزاقنا فامح تقطير رزقنا وحرمان رزقنا واكتبنا وأثبتنا عندك السعداء ووفقنا الخير فإنك تقول في كتابك يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده أم الكتاب اللهم إنا نسألك فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين وأن تغفر لنا وترحمنا فإذا أردت بقوم فتنة فتوفنا غير مفتونين فإذا أردت بقوم فتنة فتوفنا غير مفتونين فإذا أردت بقوم فتنة فتوفنا غير مفتونين ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا وحبيبنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. You know that dua which I read every day, فَإِذَا أَرَدْتَ بِقَوْمٍ فِتْنَةً فَتَوَفَّنَا غَيْرَ مَفْتُونِينَ or فَأَنْقِذْ رُوحَنَا غَيْرَ مَفْتُونِينَ. You know, make its wazifa, because these days, this dua was given to Nabi Sallallahu Nabi Sallallahu was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that what have you heard? People are discussing into Mala'ul A'la. Mala'ul A'la. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, you know, his assemblies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has his own assembly. So Nabi Sallallahu was asked. So in that long hadith sharif, inshallah, sometime we will discuss. In that long hadith sharif, this dua was given. This dua was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you should say. Nabi Sallallahu started saying, Allahumma inni as'aluka fi'la al-khayrat wa tarka al-munkarat wa hubb al-masakin wa an taghfira li wa tarhamani. So, you know, فَإِذَا أَرَدْتَ بِقَوْمٍ فِتْنَةً فَتَوَفَّنِي غَيْرَ مَفْتُونِينَ. These days, you know, we say to Allah that, oh Allah, before our iman becomes ruined, before our deen becomes ruined, we don't want to live that long life, that which brings some damage into our iman and deed and our amal and our obedience. And Allah, keep us alive, give us long life to serve you, to serve your deed, to follow sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And another thing, you know, we were talking about taqdeer. I had shared before also. We were in Darul Blackburn, and one of the great muhaddis of our time who taught Bukhari Sharif for 50 years, Sheikh Yunus Sahib, muhaddis of our time, Sheikh Yunus Sahib rahmatullah alayh, he was sitting, and Hazrat Maulana Abdul Rahim Sahib Limada came and informed him that Maulana Umarji, who was his very, very beloved disciple and his Khalifa, his successor, he said, we are trying to wake him up for Fajr, but he is not waking up. So make dua. So dua request was made. After a while he came back again and he said, we are trying, we have called ambulance, doctor, and make dua. And I think then he informed that even police has come. So make dua. So he kept on making. Third time he came and he said he passed away. He passed away. So, you know, I was just observing Sheikh, because he was his very beloved disciple. You know, within seconds he had adjusted himself. He must have started making dua that Allah give him long life. But when the news was broken that he is gone, so Radina bil qisma. You know, whatever taqdeer bring it to us, we should be happy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us like that. That till we die, whatever, you know, we should strive. We should strive to its highest level. But whatever taqdeer brings, then we have no complaint with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.